32:14, and Exodus 34:1 and 2. Exodus 32:14 and Exodus 34:1 and 2. Yes, I do use the Bible. Exodus 34:14. When you have it, make some kind of audible sound. Thank you. Grunts, whistles, barking, I'll take anything. Exodus 32, right in the front of the book. Genesis, Exodus. You know, should not be that difficult to find. Amen. And it says, and the Lord repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people. The Lord repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people. It means God changed his mind. And Moses turned and went down from the mount. And the two tables of the testimony were in his hand. These are the 10 Commandments. The tables were written on both their sides, and on one side and on the other were they written. And the tables were the what? They were the work of God. And the writing was the So the tables were the work of God, and the writings were the writing of God, graven upon the tablet. What Moses was carrying in his hands, he had nothing to do with it all. It wasn't a daemon that did it. It was a deity. It was Jehovah. It was Yahweh. It was Jehovah Sikkenu, Rohi, and Manna. But Moses is carrying work for which he did not authenticate. He did not create. It was done totally outside of him, and God did all the work. And here comes Moses down off the mountain carrying something that is all God and none of him. All God and none of him. All God and none of him. And there are some blessings and moments that we have that are all God and none of us. We don't even know the secret sauce. We don't know where it came from. We don't know how it happened. It doesn't make any sense. We weren't planning on it. We didn't even see it coming. It's just Shazam. And it all comes together, and we get to carry it in like we did it. But it was all God and none of us. I prophesy to you today that this year will be the year that you will carry some things into your life that are all God and none of you. God's going to do the writing. God's going to do the work. God's going to hew out the stone. He's just going to make it happen. You're not going to know where it came from. It's going to be rain without clouds. It's going to be harvest in your life in a supernatural way. There won't be any wind. There won't be any clouds. There won't be any lightning, any thunder. It's just going to be water coming up out of the ground. Dig ditches in your valley. This is going to be all God and none of you. The famine is over. This is all God, not of you. Uncle Lulu didn't do it. Aunt May May didn't do it. Cousin Richard didn't do it. Your rich uncle from California didn't call anybody. It's just going to be all God. None of you. God's going to assume responsibility and be the author and the finisher of our faith. The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. He which was and is to come, everything in between. To God be the glory for the things he has done. Some things happen in your life that's just totally God. Totally God. You had nothing to do with it. All when God got through hewing out the stone and then writing on the stone, all Moses had to do was receive it. And I want to know, are you ready to receive? How many are ready to receive from the Creator everything that you need? And Moses received it. And Moses experienced it. And Moses threw it down when he got to the bottom of the mountain and saw what people were doing. And I'm saying to you, don't throw down what God has given you over what you see in people. If I sat down right now and didn't say another word, I have really spoken good today. Don't throw down what God has given you over what you see in people. Don't throw away what God has given you over what you see in people. Let's go on. Exodus 34, 1 and 2. And the Lord said unto Moses, now this is the second time, hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables which thou breakest. And be ready in the morning and come up in the morning unto the Mount Sinai and present thyself there to me in the top of the, wait, in the top of the, wait, something's different. And the Lord said unto Moses, let's go back because I missed something. Hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first. That's different from the first though. Because the first time, God hewed out the stones and wrote the 10 Commandments. This time, God says, this is going to be collaborative. It's going to be like the first time, but it is going to be collaborative. I want you to do the hewing, and I'm going to do the writing, and we're still going to get it done. And that's what I want to talk to you about this morning, that more times than not, what we end up with when we are creative is collaborative, where we have to do something so that God can do something. God says, I know what I want to write, and I got the finger ready to write it, but I can't write it till you hew out the stone. And it's going to be like I did it all, but I am investing you with the responsibility of collaborating with me on your next moment of creativity. And what I want to talk to you about today is what your responsibilities are and the mindset that you need to be in order to collaborate with God on your next creative moment. There will be some things that happen this year that's all God and none of you, and you won't even know where it came from. But more times than not, God is going to ask certain things of you in order for you to flow into realms of creativity. And if you don't position yourself and get the right mindset and the right attitude and prepare your heart for creativity, then there's going to be a letter that can't be written because you have not done the prerequisite work of hewing out the stone that God wants to do in your life. So what I decided to do is I decided to put together 10 things you need to accomplish in order to model creativity in your life. 10 things you need to accomplish, experience, do, or think like in order to model creativity in your life. And I'm going to unload them on you, and I hope you're ready for them. Because if you will do these 10 things, I can just about guarantee you a collaborative experience with God. Are you with me? Number 1, we are getting ready to model creativity. And our model is going to show us how. The first rule is break the rule. You cannot be truly creative until you break the rule. Thank you very much. What do you mean by break the rule? I'm glad you asked. To deliberately remove the barriers, to change the game, to break the habit that blocks your creativity. Are you hearing what I'm saying? To remove the barriers of tradition and habit that are stopping you from having a new life. You're going to have to get rid of the traditions and habits and normalcies that stop you from having a richer, fuller, brighter life. And in order to do that, you have to have the courage to break the rules. Now, I'm not talking about breaking rules about morals or ethics. I'm talking about breaking unspoken rules and barriers that have incarcerated you into living your life where you can't tell for sure, is this Wednesday or Friday? Because your days are so routine that you forget which day it is, because you do the same thing all the time until you can't tell one day from the next day. They all look the same to you because you will not break the rules. Creative people are people who break rules. When I came to Dallas and I started pastoring in Dallas, and I set this church up and started preaching in this church, and I had 1,500 people to join the first Sunday. And within a year, I was up to 10,000 members, and people in the city came out and told me, you can't do that in Dallas. And I said, I didn't know it. And as long as you don't know it, you can do it. But the moment you start knowing what you can't do and what you can't have and what you can't be, that's the moment you are incarcerated to the rules around you. I can't tell you how many pastors tell me, oh, you don't know the spirit of Chicago. You don't know the spirit over here. You don't know New York. You don't know. Anytime you hear people telling you what you don't know, they have bought into the rules and they live within the limits. But if you are really going to do something awesome, you have got to color. I know your first grade teacher's going to hate me for this, but you got to color outside the lines. You got to be prepared to break some rules. You got to be ready to go where other people haven't gone before. You got to be willing to do something that looks wild, that looks crazy, that looks different. You must be a rule breaker. And I hate to shock you, but you are praising a Jesus who was a rule-breaking Jesus. Healing people on the Sabbath day, eating without washing their hands, walking through the fields pulling corn down on holy days. Religious people hated him because he broke the rules. You cannot be a trendsetter if you're always traceable. You've got to be somebody creative enough to break the rules. We have the cotton gin because Eli Whitney broke the rules. Are you hearing what I'm saying? We have the peanut because Booker T. Washington broke the rules. Whenever you break the rules, you find out what else it could be. Have you got some rules around you that define, I'm just not like that. That's just not how I am. My family isn't like that. Oh, it's just not me. I've always been quiet. I've always been loud. I've always, shut up! Break the rules. If you break the rules, your money is on the other side of the rules. Yes, your opportunity is on the other side of the rules. Your husband is on the other side of the road. You will never get anywhere staying inside of the lines. It's time to break the rule. They don't write books about people who don't break rules. They don't study you in history books if you play by the rules. You got to be able to sit when they're trying to drag you away and stand when they're trying to get you to sit down. You'll never change anything till you break the rule. Ask Rosa Parks about breaking rules. You got to break some rules or you'll never see a change. I want to provoke you to get up off your seat of do nothing and make 2014 the year that you are going to break. Oh, I can't buy a house. Nobody in my family owns any property. Break the rule. Oh, I can't go to college. None of my father didn't go. My mama didn't go. My sister didn't go. Break the rule. These rules are stopping you from discovering what else you can be. How you have defined yourself stops you from exploring yourself. How you have defined yourself stops you from exploring yourself. I couldn't talk in front of people. It was a rule. Standing in front of people made me nervous. When I first started trying to do it, I was shaking so bad that you thought I